Hey there, little mama. The world has been saying that gender doesn't matter and that we're kind of all the same. Well, as you can tell from part one of this two-part series with Alison Armstrong, that is not the case. And Alison has scientific fact and experience to back it up. Today, we are going to go ahead and do part two of my interview with Alison Armstrong. And we're going to be talking about how to talk to your man, the simple thing that you can do that is going to make all the difference in the world. Plus, oh my goodness, so many good things. You will be laughing just like we were. And we're also going to be talking about kids. So you're going to just love my interview with Alison Armstrong. And I am sure that she's going to become one of your favorites, just like she is mine. So let's get going.
Welcome to the Moms Like Us podcast, where moms just like you learn strategies, systems, and skills through expert interviews and real-life insight designed to take your marriage, mothering, and home to the expert level. Hi, I'm Mona Corwin, your mom mentor and host, author, international speaker, and the founder of the Moms Like Us Academy. I've been coaching moms for over 25 years, and I have some really good news for you. Motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and you can learn it. You can crush it at motherhood instead of motherhood crushing you. So let's get to today's show.
So I taught them, I considered my job as a mom, which I think is one of the most important questions for us to answer. What is my job? And a dear friend of mine asked me, he said, so do you want your children to fulfill their potential? Is that what you think your job is as a mom, is to have your children fulfill their potential? And I thought about it, and I thought, potential is baloney. We have so many potentials, right? And for someone to glom on one potential that they see, which as a parent is often a projection of our own unfulfilled dreams and ambitions, my children finally called me on that I kept giving them toys for Christmas that I wanted.
Okay, everybody just think about that. What do you want for Christmas?
I had two brothers. My brothers got all the Legos. They got all the Lincoln Logs. They got all the Rector sets. But I think like an engineer. I wanted that stuff, right?
That's awesome.
So I thought, like, okay, what do I really want for my children? And it was not their potential. I think it's a racket. It sells a lot of college tuitions or something. What I wanted for my children, I wanted them to be happy, and I wanted their lives to be interesting to them. And so it's like, oh, so I need to teach them how to deal with the real world. Mm. That's my job. Show them how to deal with the real world. So as I taught them how to manipulate me, I literally taught them how to manage their teachers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes. So they could manage me. They could start to manage their father and get the dad they needed. And they could navigate, and I let them experience consequences, right? Instead of, they become adults at 18, and then bam, the consequences hit them in the butt. I let them experience consequences. I stopped being the teacher's best parent because I stopped managing my children's education. Like, this is your education. How do you want to get it? My youngest said, Mom, I realize that public school is an inefficient way to get an education, but I want to be with my friends. I said, okay, I'll support you. I'll get you uniforms, I'll buy you school project supplies, and we'll take you to school and make sure you have lunch. She was the valedictorian. And, went on, graduated summa cum laude. But her education was this passion she did, but she mastered it. She went to school every day. Even when she didn't feel like, she's like, Mom, it's easier to do my homework while the teacher's talking about something stupid than it is to miss class and have to do all that homework on my own time.
Oh my gosh.
I'd rather sit there and not
Smart.
feel good. Yeah. And then my other daughter, she tested out of high school when she was 15 and a half and went to community college before she was 16. And now guess what she is? She's a community college counselor, her
Good.
dream job, right? Helping all these different people figure out how to do what they need to do, right? And it's just, anyhow, but I let them find out what happened when they didn't do their homework instead of managing them do their homework like there's some employee to supervise. No,
Yeah.
it's your education. You decide.
Yeah. That's really
You
good.
decide. Find
I
out. I said
love
the
that.
only
I love that little peek into your mothering. I love
really.
that. We don't normally see that. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
Um,
welcome.
but telling them that time and rest is key because it is the thing that they feel like they don't have the enough of, and it's usually because they're believing the lie that they can have it all, and they've decided what all is, and instead of like what all actually can be, and it doesn't have to be in the moment. It actually can be as you go. So that
You can
is,
take 2 decades for
yeah.
all to show up. Just
Oh,
don't bring it, yeah, all
absolutely.
at one time. That's a killer. I mean, it's giving 30-year-old women heart attacks.
I know. And
Thinking we're
these are the girls that I'm with. And
yeah.
anyways, you mentioned it, and now you
Right.
must tell the girls about being a frog farmer.
Ah, frog farmer.
You got to do it. It is the
Right.
best.
I will. I will. Well, the if you want the longer version of the story, it's in the first chapter of the Queen's Code,
And that would
which
be what it would be this cover, girls. It'll be this cover
not that
or
one.
this one. This is the new cover. But if you're like me, I have these stashed. And if I've mentored you, you might already have one. But you can also go online and take one of her courses and listen to it on audio, which would be really great when you're walking the strollers and everything. But
Yes,
yeah,
we have
so
the app,
let's,
and you can listen to. I will tell you the story, and
this will pull
I
you
have
into Alison Armstrong world like
a
nobody's
world.
business.
Well,
Tell them about being a frog farmer.
oh my gosh. Okay, so here I was, 30 years old, div- almost divorced, with a my son was 1.5 years old, and I was in a seminar, and the trainer was talking about love and communication, and a coworker of mine who was sitting next to me stood up and asked him, why is it that men are wonderful in the beginning and they take you to romantic places and they give you romantic gifts and they listen to you talk about your pets and your family as if they care, and then within a few weeks or a few months they turn into sports watching, pizza eating, beer belching couch slugs? Why is that? Oh, edgy. Lisa's edgy. And and his response was to say, "Oh, I see, you're a frog farmer." And she, what the heck? And said, some women turn frogs into princes. You turn princes into frogs. And the vision that I described in the Queen's Code, I had that vision of a farmhouse and rows of frogs with little human heads. And I, I mean, I had my boyfriends lasted 10 days. I was telling my boyfriend now that he's my second long term relationship with a man. That my first husband, we didn't really have a relationship. A friend of mine says, no, he was a sperm donor. Even though we were technically married for almost 7 years, there was no partnership at all, like none. We didn't eat meals together. He did his own laundry. He came and went as he pleased. We didn't like each other, right? Total chemical attraction on my part in the beginning. And so my husband of well, we were married for 26 years when he passed away. He was really my first long-term relationship. And I met him a couple of weeks after I gave up emasculating men.
This is
6
it. This is like, this is it. And in my view, our friend Suzanne Venker, she said that she believes there isn't a war on women, that it's actually a war on men, because if they can emasculate men, they can get to the women and the kids.
Mm.
That's profound. And we are participating. E,
Yeah.
we're participating. Help
Yeah.
us,
And
not help us, help us, help us.
well, so sometimes we do it on purpose, right? Out of fear or frustration, we will do something to cut a man down. And we'll even be proud of it. Like he's a jerk, he deserved that, right? And but then there are things we do that we don't realize. Like for example, estrogen creates diffuse awareness, which means there are all these things we are paying attention to without trying to pay attention to them. Crooked pillows and unmade beds and ugly curtains and dirty socks on the floor and husbands who aren't listening, right? We're talking and there's nothing registering on their face and it hurts our feelings that they don't care and because that's what we think is happening, right? And there's all this stuff that we're paying attention to. And one way to think of it is that we live in a state of interruption.
So
That's
true.
why being alone is so extraordinary. Just let ourselves be alone and not be interrupted. Get to think, get to be. So, since our brains are always interrupting us with input from our environments and being able to sense the emotions and energy levels of the people around us, we do that. Science is proving how much we can perceive. We're interrupted. And so, because we live in a state of interruption, we interrupt men. We interrupt men thinking it's a conversation. And to a man, that interruption, one, it occurs like disrespect. Two, you don't care about what I'm saying, so you must not care about me. And three, it's like driving a train off the track. And so we think men are insensitive and superficial, shallow, unemotional, because we don't listen long enough for them to get to express all that. And so, I mean, if you want to do one thing that everybody has told me, learning that changed everything. We call it waiting for the well, and it applies. You love that one. It applies, and I mean, if you practice waiting for the well with men of any age, a 2-year-old struggling to show you something, right? An 82-year-old trying to recall that memory, right, from 40 years ago, which is one of the things you can remember, but not 4 minutes ago, right? Because low testosterone affects short-term memory. Older men have low testosterone. If they get it tested, their doctor will tell them it's normal. Normal is bad. We have a culture of people on low testosterone because we don't rest enough, which is what builds testosterone.
So
So, yeah, so it's if you just wait, right? So if you first don't ask anybody a question that you don't care about the answer to. Seriously, don't ask a question just to make conversation if you don't care about the answer, because people will realize you don't care and they'll stop answering and they'll get pissed at you for asking. So first think, do I really want to know this? Will I take the time to wait for the answer? And then if the yes and yes, then go ahead and ask. And you can even say, I don't know if this is a good time to ask this, but could I tell you a question I have and you can answer when it works for you? And they may say, no, please don't, not now. Ask me later. Or they may say, sure, ask me. and then ask the question. And they may look at you and they're thinking about the question and they're committing to answering that question. And they may say, I'll have to get back to you on that. Which you might think, how could you have to get back to me on that? It was a simple question, right? Because we think men are stupid. No, they're really thoughtful and they take time. Do I want chicken or fish? Do I want chicken or fish? I don't want either chicken or fish. Can
But
I
they,
tell?
but you said, you taught me that sometimes they'll say, I don't care. And that
Yes.
means it's not worth it because they have to exert energy
Mm-hmm.
because it's the way a man was built to like lead, feed, protect, and provide. And it's quick, and we're gatherers and they're hunters. And that is instinctual. It's
Yes.
just the way it is. And as women, we've got to learn how our men are wired so that we can truly call them up on a phone and say, babe, is this a good time?
Yes.
I don't ever call my husband. He owns his own business. He can do what he wants. I can
Yes.
interrupt him. Our kids can go into his office, go straight into the office. They bypass everyone. We know we
Yes.
can bypass, but we respect him by saying, is this a good time? And
Yes.
just that little thing opens them up to say, this is worth it. Right?
Yeah. Well, it helps that respect that you're acknowledging it's their time instead of your time is my time, which is how a lot of women interact, not only with men, but it's part of what's scary about elementary education. It gets better in high school because there's more male teachers, but in elementary education, it's mostly dominated by women for whom a boy who's not paying attention because he's single focused, because testosterone does that, he's single focused on something that's worth it to him to focus on. He'll get sent for evaluation for ADD if he's not paying attention to her, even though she's so boring and she doesn't know she has to connect with his instincts. That when especially you get a kid in junior high and high school saying, how am I going to use this? Don't worry about that. You need it for the test. He tests don't connect to him like my future depends on a test unless he's one of those kids. And then he'll test really well because he's going to be a doctor and he's got to get into med school. And so tests matter. If they don't have that kind of ambition, a test is a stupid thing. How am I going to use this? That's an instinctual question. How am I going to use this to survive? How am I going to use this to thrive? Why do I need to know this calculation? Why do I need to know this history? They need to know, why do I need to know this? And we won't take the time to tell them this is where it's useful. So we don't connect with instincts. Just like I taught a course called Gender Differences in Education. I did it for a junior high principal. Was he junior? He was middle school principal, and his staff. And I was talking about the difference between how boys need to know, how do I win at this, and girls need to feel like their teacher likes them. And because that makes them feel safe, and then they can pay attention. And the principal, like years later, he was telling me, I never understood why these girls were sitting across from me crying that their teacher didn't like them. Who cares if your teacher likes them? Now I understand why it matters so much to feel liked. And I mean, one of the things you said, Monique, sort of has me think that you probably listen to the Understanding Women or watch the Understanding Women that we sell on Audible, which is where we talk about women as gatherers. The updated Understanding Women online course, which is 11 hours of Understanding Women, talks about how we're both. We can be in
Excellent.
hunting mode. We can be in
Girl, I got to
hunting.
get updated. I got to
Yes,
get updated.
come on down. Come on down. It's very affordable, and I interact with our online students. It's up to 8.5 hours a month. I'm interacting with them. They get to ask me those how questions. Our Quest subscribers ask me how questions. The people in our courses, I'm making sure they're clear about the information and then how to apply it in different circumstances. Something I get to work on all the time. Now that the meat of it is recorded and I don't have to teach it over and over again, I get to spend all my time taking it to the next level.
But thank you so much, Alison. You're
You're
just
welcome.
absolutely a treasure.
Oh, mwah!
I sure hope you enjoyed this episode of Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. Sweetheart, we have so much more over on the website Moms Like Us, and we also are on Instagram at Moms Like Us __, and you can just join us over there to learn why we should know what we should know, what we should know. But I have got a little special thing that we have in the Moms Like Us world. It's called the Moms Like Us Academy, and I hope you'll consider it. You can find out more about it on the momslikeus.org website, but it is full of masterclasses that teach you how. Because, girl, motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and you can learn it. But to learn it, you have to know how. And that's where we do it. That's where moms just like us, moms just like you, we make it happen. So I hope that you will go over and join us in the Moms Like Us Academy. Okay, that's it. Bye for now.